Hey guys, it's Rob and Kelvin with the Gaming Duo, and today we're going to be ranking every PS5 exclusive. Now, little disclaimer here. I know there are a lot of these games came out for PC, but we're just going to be the ones that are, came out for PS5, right, Kel?
Yeah, I'm excited for this. This is gonna be cool.
Let's start, man. So the first game that I want to choose is going to be Forespoken.
Forespoken. So Forespoken came out January 24th, 2023. Square Enix, right? Here's the thing: Metacritic score 64, right? So it's all it came out in a dicey spot, right? Already. Forespoken was something that I was really looking forward to, and it fumbled in a few spaces, but from what it looks like, the gameplay, it seems like it held up pretty well. So it's tough to say because this is something that I think would have done really well if they cleared out some of the things that they needed to, as far as like story and just like gameplay wise. But I might put this at like a D tier. I'm gonna be honest.
You know, D's what you're going to go with?
I'm going with D.
You're going with D. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to have to agree with you with the D tier. I'm also going to be putting it at D tier just because I heard that there was a lot of things that were good, but there was more bad than good, right? Would you agree with that?
Agreed. Yeah, for sure. There's more bad than good, but doesn't mean it's a bad game. It just means that it could have been better. Now, and just full disclosure as well, most of these games, I would say like 90% of these games we have played, we have tried out. Forespoken was one of them that we did not try.
Right. So this list is subjective. So Forespoken, you're going in the D tier. What's next, Go? Come on. What game you want to throw at me?
I'm going to go with Horizon Forbidden West.
Okay. So Horizon Forbidden West came out February 18th, 2022. Developer Guerrilla Games. It had a Metacritic score of 88%. Now, this game, I always feel bad for this game because it just came out at the worst time. Came out when Elden Ring came out, when it dropped. I think they dropped came out came in February, and Elden Ring dropped a month after, maybe a couple weeks after. And man, that really, I think, just set that game up for failure. So I did play it. I didn't beat it, but I want to go back and I want to play it. And every time I see that game being played, I'm like, wow, this game is beautiful every single time. And I do think it's probably the best looking PlayStation 5 game to date, in my opinion. I'm going to put this game, for me, at an A tier. I think A is pretty good for it, just because it's an overall good game. It reviewed well. The mechanics are great on it. And yeah, that's where I'm at. What about you?
Subjective, right? I think this game held up pretty well. Again, this is Forbidden West, right? So we're talking about a game that came out a few years back, about 2 years ago. I'm gonna say though, although I love the mechanics, I did enjoy what they were trying to achieve in that game, right? Obviously, robots, dinosaurs, like that meshed really well together, and I think that's like you can't go wrong with that, right? But overall, for me, it never really hit. There's something about that game that I just couldn't really get. And I'm a huge RPG fan, right? Like, I'm huge when it comes to things like that. I'm a huge Sony fan, but this particular game I couldn't really dive into. So I'm gonna hit it with a C. I'm gonna go for
a C.
Yeah,
that is a big surprise. Okay, C for Kelvin then.
I'm gonna probably piss off a lot of people, by the way. So
we're not starting out strong. I mean, I'm A. I think that's.
I think you're fine.
Yeah, I think people might get mad at that one. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Let's pick that one.
Awesome. It came out June 11th, 2021 by obviously Insomniac Games, and the Metacritic score for this game is at 88%. Still, same on par with Horizon. And this one for me hits nostalgia. This one hits just amazing platforming, amazing visuals. I personally love Ratchet and Clank for everything it's done in the decades that it's been on Sony's platform, but I've also just enjoyed specifically Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, because just the way they've kind of changed the story a little bit and they've added new mechanics, I thought that was like genius of them. And the way they've kind of changed the format for that game. I mean, it still kept it the same, but changed it a little bit. I think it hit home. So, and plus that was like one of my first PS5 games that I actually tried. I'm gonna hit this game with an A. I think it deserves an A tier because it is one of the best platformers out there, and it still is.
Yeah, that's spot on. For me, this game, when I first played it, this felt like a true PS5 game. This felt like I was actually in next gen when I started playing Ratchet and Clank. Played the entire game with a big, huge smile on my face.
Yeah.
Mechanics are there, platforming's there, like everything you could want. It's the Ratchet and Clank you know and love from the PS2 days, right? But just the way like everything kind of like the riffs themselves and like going into different worlds and the way they were able to deal with all the effects and particles, I thought it was just a treat. So I'm actually going to give Ratchet and Clank for myself. I'm going to put it in S tier. I think this is the one. If you get a PS5, this is a must play. Like this is a reason why you have a PS5 is to play this game. So I think S is a good spot for it. But we both ranked high, so I'm not.
Yeah,
we're
I'm
good.
not mad about that.
No.
All right, I got one for you. Let's go with Returnal.
Ooh, Returnal. This one, we're going to have very different opinions here. But Returnal came out in April 30th, 2021. Developer Housemarque got a Metacritic of 86 out of 100. This game, when it first came out, again, it's a roguelike shooter. Very, very kind of different at the time when it came out. I don't think there was really a ton of things like it at the time. And I really think this game, and they've added so many updates to this game since launch. Like there's like a co-op mode now, and I just know they updated the game. It still like looks amazing today, 3 years after release. So I personally never beat it just because I think I just suck at the game, or I just have to get back into it. But I appreciated this game. There is so much going on. There's flashing and lights and it's absolutely wild. So I am going, even though I personally didn't beat the game, I appreciate this game so much for what it is, and I'm gonna give it an S tier. This is an S tier game. This is an S tier PS5 game. This is a must play if you have a PS5.
I thought we were gonna have drastic differences when it comes to Returnal because again, like you said, it's not something that you completely finished. I beat the game, and I must say I am in absolute love with this game. I think everything that they've done, you said, Rob, about Ratchet and Clank, how this felt for you like a true PS5 game, and I don't disagree with you, but for me, Returnal felt like a true PS5 or a true next gen game. Just things that they've done with the haptic feedback, the particle effects, like you mentioned, like those things really made Returnal stand out. And plus, just the gameplay loop that it has, it's phenomenal. And what they did and what they achieved in that game, it got someone like me who's not really a huge I don't really favor that type of genre all the time. Like I do like it here and there, but Returnal really got me into that genre, and I think it just did an amazing job. So I agree. I thought we were gonna have a massive difference in this, but I'm on the S tier with you, man. Returnal is definitely an S tier game.
So we have agreed so far on Forespoken and Returnal. Those are the two games that we've agreed on in the exact same tier. So that's interesting. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Returnal, and I get excited every time I have to talk about it. So go get that game if you have PS5. Kelp, I'm gonna pick for you Destruction All Stars. Let's get that one over with. Let's get that one out of the way. Tell me what you think about Destruction All Stars.
Came out February 2021. Developers Lucid Games Limited. Metacritic score 62%. So it didn't really fare too well with the audience here. Didn't resonate with me at all. The mechanics felt clunky. The characters just didn't do anything for me either. So I don't have much to say about Destruction All Stars other than it just didn't hit. It didn't really do what it was supposed to, and for that, I'm gonna bring it down to the D tier.
Yeah. I mean, I as well am in the same exact boat as you. I actually put it in D for you already because I already knew you were gonna say D. Not saying it's an awful game. Like every single one of these games on this list is a decent game, right? They all reviewed well.
Yeah.
That's probably why we don't have like an F tier for this. But
Mhm.
there wasn't a lot of marketing. There just wasn't a lot of hype surrounding this game. It didn't feel like a PS5 game per se. Like, you know, it was like a defining game for that console. Like, you wouldn't go out of your way to get a PS5 for Destruction All Star. So I'm also going to give it a D tier. So
All right, so I think we're gonna go with Demon Souls.
this is a good one. This isn't a good one. This is going to be a controversial one, I think. Released November 12th, 2020. It was developed by Blue Point Games. Metacritic score of 92%. Okay. Obviously, this is a remake / remaster of a really good game that came out for PS3. They did an incredible job bringing this game to current gen. It did a good job of showcasing how beautiful the PS5 hardware is as far as like the graphics go, but it wasn't groundbreaking for me. It wasn't like the feeling I got when I played Ratchet and Clank. It wasn't the feeling how I got when I played Returnal, right, when I booted that up. So I think for Demon Souls, I'm gonna put it in a B tier.
Okay.
It's not it didn't blow my socks off, and I think people are gonna call me crazy for not putting it in A or S, but I think B is right where I want to be for this. What about you? What do you think of Demon Souls?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on the same boat. However, I enjoyed what I played. I just didn't. I felt like I was taking one step forward and two steps back when I was playing that game. And so for that, I'm gonna probably keep it where you're at on the B. Is that what you put it? You put it on B,
Put it
right?
in B. Okay, we're good again. B.
I think B is fine. I was thinking of C, but that's a little too low
No.
for this because this is not a C game whatsoever.
But
Just
Horizon
because
is, right? But
just-
Horizon's a C game, right?
it is. It is. But I think B is where it stands for me. Yeah.
Let's see. For you, I'm going to pick Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2, October 20th, 2023. Again, developed by Insomniac Games. A Metacritic score of 90%. This game resonated with me so much. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan as it is. For me, the mechanics, the way that you feel like you are swinging through New York City and you're just having this urge of like, I want to keep swinging. I want to keep trying to find different places and just be Spider-Man. Like, this is a true superhero game. And they've done so many things to improve upon the previous game, right? I'm very excited to put this in the S tier.
Okay. I would yell at you if you didn't put it anything but A or S because that's just crazy talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I played the first one. I didn't beat the first one, and we did platinum this game. We did platinum Spider-Man.
This was your first platinum, correct?
No, I don't think it was my first platinum. It might have been like my second platinum. I can't remember what the other game I platinum, but it's one of my I think it's my second game. I love this game, obviously, because I platinumed it. But I'm going to give it. I'm gonna put an A. I'm gonna put an A in front of Horizon. And the reason why I'm not giving it the S treatment is because it felt like an extension of the first game to me. It felt like it was Spider-Man 1 with more stuff, right? And obviously, it looked prettier, but there wasn't anything like revolutionary that blew my socks off when I'm going off of like, if they released this for PS4, I think I would have been like, it still would have been a good game, right? People still would have loved this. People still would have played it. But I don't think the PS5 is showcased as well as like Returnal or Ratchet and Clank on my list, or even Horizon. I think Horizon really does a good job of showing the PS5's power. But that's why I'm going to say it wasn't as big as a leap from Spider-Man 1 to Spider-Man 2, just because it's a sequel. So I like it at A. S is amazing. No wrong answer there. I don't think people are going to disagree with us, to be honest.
I'm gonna go with God of War Ragnarok.
Another one. You're throwing. I'm
throwing the big heavy hitters.
I was afraid you were gonna say Ragnarok. I was afraid because it's like that same conversation about it being a sequel. I'm like, he's gonna pick Ragnarok, and I'm gonna I want to put Ragnarok in S tier. I do, but it also is God of War, extended, right? It's the original, 2018. But for some reason, this to me is a big reason why people purchased a PS5, right? Like they wanted to play the newest God of War game, and they're like, I need to play it, so let me get a PS5. And I think putting in an A or S, you can't really go wrong. But I'm putting this game in S tier. This is an S tier game for me because I got the collector's edition. I loved my entire time with God of War Ragnarok. The game was beautiful. I think they added enough to make it feel fresh, and it felt like a true PS5 game. All right, sir. I don't think you might put this in B. I don't know what you're doing.
All right. Let's relax here. So, yeah, God of War Ragnarok is, some would say, like the pinnacle of like PlayStation games, right? Like this is a PlayStation ass title, right? It has the graphical fidelity, it has the story, it has the scope that most of the people are looking for when you're looking at a PlayStation title. A game that you cannot fault it for really much anything. It's a fantastic game. It has everything you would want in a Sony title. I'm gonna give this an S tier as well.
All right. S tier. Now, where are you putting in the S tier? Are you putting it behind Spider-Man, or are you putting it in middle Spider-Man? Where is this going on the S tier?
I would put this above Spider-Man.
Above Spider-Man. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but behind Returnal.
Yes, for sure.
All right. That's a good spot. That's the perfect spot for it. All right, man. I'm gonna give you Sackboy Adventures.
Okay. Yeah, I like Sackboy. Sackboy's a big adventure. Came out November 12th. Developer Sumo Digital. So it's not the same company that made like Media Molecule was the ones that previously worked on Sackboy. And the Metacritic score for this was a 79. Good game, right? I tend to enjoy these games because they're a nice break from what we are typically used to now, right? These action adventure, like heavy, like story-driven games. Sackboy Big Adventure brings out the cuteness in things, and you're just like really enjoying platforming for what it is, for what it used to be, like nostalgic purposes, which is really nice. I'm gonna probably give this a solid B, honestly.
All right, behind Demon Souls, right? I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now people are like, you're crazy, right? Like you put Horizon Forbidden West as a C tier, and now you're putting Sackboy above Horizon, but stick with me, you'll get it eventually.
Like I said, I've never been the biggest fan of Little Big Planet, even from the PS3 era days. I know they really tried making Sackboy a really big Sony rep. I think they somewhat succeeded with him. Again, I'm gonna put this game at C tier just because I'm not the biggest Little Big Planet fan. And I don't think this is a big PS5, so like I'm not rushing out the door to play Sackboy's Big Adventure, right? Yeah. Very solid game, obviously, like we said on this list, but for me, if I'm gonna have this type of game, I can get this type of game elsewhere, right? I'm gonna boot up my Switch and play a Mario or something like that, right? So for me, this game, I think feels right at home for me at C. I feel comfortable with that, so nothing crazy. Now I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Now, before we get to the big one, I want to throw you Astros Playroom because it's in the same vein. Playroom, not, Astro Bot.
Right. Yeah. This is a great one because, again, this is what introduces you, for the most part, for most people, this introduced you to the PS5. This introduced you to the haptic feedbacks. This introduced you to the motion controls. Like, this was essentially the tech demo for the PS5. But it was a really good tech demo, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it was like one of the best tech demos you would ever play. And it had a lot of great, just ways to utilize the controller, the DualSense controller, and just shows you a little bit of what the PS5 is capable of in the most, basic way, right? In the most platformer way. I love Astros Playroom, and I think, Asobi did a great job. It came out November 12th, 2020, with the Metacritic score of 83%. Yeah, so I think Astros Playroom does a phenomenal job. I do really appreciate what it's done. It showcases what the PS5 is capable of, but nothing more. So I'm going to probably bring it to a C tier.
A C tier. Okay. It's a C tier game. Behind Horizon Forbidden West?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Astro's Playroom is interesting, right? Just because it was kind of like people didn't expect it. Just like, oh, it's just like a free game that comes with your PS5. Sure, I'll play it. And I think everyone was pleasantly surprised by Astro Playroom as how good it was. They're like, wow, this is actually pretty fun. Whereas when I was playing it, I almost didn't want it to end because it was like, it's a quick 4-hour, 5-hour adventure, and that's it. The fact that it's free and it was so polished and it really showed you the ins and out, and it had some nostalgia in there too. Like it kind of went through Sony's history of PlayStation. So just for the overall fact that it just did everything right and it was just free with your game, this is going in an A tier for me. This is an A tier PS5 game.
Whoa.
Yeah, to me, I really enjoyed my time with Astros Playroom, and I think that obviously the fact that it's free for a free game, it's crazy to me. That value is absolutely absurd. So it's gonna go A for me. So
All right, let's keep it pushing here. So I'm gonna give you Final Fantasy 16.
Oh my god, this list gets hard. Like it's getting harder now. It's getting harder. Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy 16 came out June 2023. Obviously, Square Enix. It got a Metacritic of 87%. Now, there has been recent news about Final Fantasy not selling as well as people wanted it to, and we can get to the different topic of a different video. But I absolutely adored this game. Leading up to this game, I love the fact that they were turning it into more of an action RPG. And just the story is very linear, and you still got your Final Fantasy. They gave the kind of Game of Thrones stream of all the different factions, and they did a really good job rebuilding what is, because with 13 and 15 it was a little bumpy, and then they completely changed it into 16. This game is absolutely incredible. Like when I was playing this game and I went through the demo, even just the demo, my jaw was on the floor that first sequence. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm playing this game. I absolutely can't believe I'm playing this game. Absolutely incredible. I'm gonna have to say this game is an S tier PS5 game, right? It just released for PC now, right? Like the other, like I think like last week it released for PC. So, and people are still like, oh my god, this game is so beautiful. This game is sick. And this is the reason why you should get a PS5 is to play a game like this, because of just how gorgeous and like the colors flashing and just really does a good job of showcasing the PlayStation. So yeah, PlayStation Final Fantasy 16, we're putting that in the S tier. That's gonna go right behind Ratchet and Clank for me, in between Returnal. All right, Kelvin.
Okay. I echo everything you said. I think Final Fantasy 16 is an amazing game. It branches out a lot from previous Final Fantasy titles, and that's okay. I think that's what it wanted to do. And to me, regardless of the sales, it succeeded, right? It did a phenomenal job of trying to keep that core audience, but also putting in the Devil May Cry kind of battle system and just trying to be more of an action-oriented Final Fantasy game. And I love it kind of did what God of War hasn't done yet, in my opinion, which is having those massive scopes, massive, like crazy, ridiculous boss fights that I kind of still miss from like God of War 3, for example. So I'm going to put it at S tier too, man. I think this is a S tier title.
Where is this going in front of Returnal? Is this going in front of Returnal, or is it behind Returnal?
I'm going to put this in front of Returnal. Yeah.
Wow. It is your number one PS5 game. Number one.
At this moment, we haven't finished the list yet.
Okay.
At this moment, yeah.
All right.
I'm just going to throw it at us. Let's do it now. Concord. Let's do Concord.
We're just going to get over with. Just rip it.
Just get it over. Just rip the bandage off.
This game, man. I really do feel bad about this game, just because I could tell it was a good game. Like it was a solid game, right? It just, everything wasn't working for it in a sense of just the marketing. As a PS5 game, this was kind of like people were saying this is like PS5's Overwatch, is what the general consensus was, and it also was trying to do its own thing as well. But the player base just wasn't there, right? So it obviously didn't take off as much, and that could have been due to marketing, but the characters weren't really inspiring. This didn't scream PS5 to me, right? This didn't scream Sony. This didn't scream like this is the exclusive. This could have been released everywhere. I would be like, okay, sure, cool, right? So when it comes to being solely exclusive on PS5, I don't think this is a must-have game, right? And this list is about the best ranked PS5 exclusive games. Again, it could have been a bunch of other things, but for me, I see why it failed. I see why it didn't have a lot of people. It's not a console seller. This is going in D tier for me. This is a D tier game. And it's not a bad game. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It just doesn't do anything crazy. And it, for me, I'm like, I'm not buying a PS5 for this. So
yeah, man. I mean, what are you gonna say? A game that doesn't exist anymore, right? You can't really grade that anything above. I mean, granted, to be fair, the game, from what I heard, was pretty solid. It actually had quality to it. It wasn't a bad game per se. It just didn't resonate with the audience, and unfortunately for that, it caused it to to be removed from store shelves and online as well. So it just didn't hit. And it's trying to do something that it's already been done, and unfortunately, there's just no space for it in the market. And for that, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna bring it to the D tier, probably the very last the last one there. So yeah, unfortunately we weren't able to like really see what Concord could do.
We have 5 games left, guys, to rank. Please, if you can, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would appreciate that so much for your support. We also do a podcast, right, where we talk about the latest gaming industry buzz. We have try to get a guest every single week, and it's just me and Kelvin just like catching up and talking about games. So if you guys are interested in that, go to the Gaming Duo podcast on your favorite streaming service. And again, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you. Let's move on. Kelvin, let's go with Rise of the Ronin.
Yeah, man. Rise of the Ronin came out March 22, 2024. Developer Team Ninja, and it scored a Metacritic of 76%. Rise of Ronin is a weird one because that's one of those games where I didn't really hear much buzz after it released. It didn't move the needle from what it looks like. It didn't seem like it did anything for that market, for that audience. And it didn't seem like it did anything revolutionary to like really make it stand out, right? So for that, I'm gonna bring it down to the D tier because it wasn't a bad game by any means. It just didn't really resonate with anyone, especially me.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think I'm going to put this one in C tier. Just because I saw the game and I was like, it looks interesting. I could pick that up. Again, not the most crazy exclusive, like you need to get a PS5 for it, but I think I would put it in the same vein as like the Sackboy, Great Adventure. I would put it above Forespoken. Just nothing about Forespoken really does anything for me. And again, people can disagree. I don't think it's as uninteresting as Destruction All Stars or Concord. Concord, I feel like we should have a separate category for Concord at this point because it doesn't exist. But yeah, so Rise of the Ronin. Yeah, I'm gonna put it at C. Kelv, we're getting down to the wire here. Let's go ahead and give you Helldivers 2. Walk us through that one.
Helldivers 2, man. So it came out February 8th of this year. Arrowhead Game Studios is the developer, and it came out with a Metacritic score of 82%. Helldivers 2 for us really swept the social media aspect. It did so much for just bringing in people word of mouth wise. It did so well. And it made us buy the game because of the buzz around that game and the way it looks. It looks so cool, and just the mechanics that it has of having this team-based game, but also you can kill each other essentially, and that's kind of like the fun of the game itself. I think this game did its job. If anything, it did more than what it needed to, and no one expected that to actually happen. So I'm gonna hit this with an A tier.
A tier is a perfect spot, I think, for this game. This game did generate that buzz. This was a live service hit that PlayStation wanted, right? And they got it. They finally hit the nail on it. It blew up on the internet. Everyone was loving it. Everyone was quoting it. And that's what you want in a game, right? You want that exclusive game where it's going to bring people in, that multiplayer in. And I think it's an A. I think it's an A right above Horizon for me. And like I said, we bought it and I loved playing this game. Again, player base dropped off a little bit. That tends to be the case with a lot of these games. But this is a bona fide PlayStation hit. So A is a perfect spot. Kel, I'm going to hit you with Stellar Blade. Tell me about Stellar Blade.
April 26th, developer Shift Up Corporation, and the Metacritic score was 81%. Stellar Blade, man. Like, I love how this game just operated the way it wanted to. This is a specific game that the developers wanted to make, and they made it regardless of any situations that they were kind of getting into when it came to the game releasing. So for me, the mechanics were great. The story was okay, but it did what it needed to do. I think the important thing about this game that it was fun. It's a fun game, and it didn't do anything crazy, but it is a great game to look at as far as like fidelity wise. Like it did its job. So for me, Stellar Blade, I'm gonna probably put it in the B category.
All right, behind Demon Souls it goes. So I agree with everything you just said. I think this game is a B game. It's an action game. It's a very sexy game. to say, right?
Exactly.
With the main character. It was very polarizing. It generated a lot of buzz. I think this game feels right at home on PlayStation. I can't wait to actually take some time to pick it up because I definitely do want to. And yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and say that B tier is where it belongs. So we have two last games. Two last games. I want you to choose the one for me.
I'm gonna go with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Okay. You guys know, if you guys don't know, I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, Final Fantasy VII fan, and Rebirth, absolutely incredible experience. Again, you should buy a PS5 for this game. It is a continuation of the remake. Again, we're on that sequel train where I think it does enough to where it feels. They took a game that was very closed off and just expanded it in such a big way, right? It truly felt like I can't believe this game's out. Like every time I boot this game, I'm like, this game is gorgeous. I beat this game and I want to go back and play it. Even though there's nothing else to do, I did everything. I still want to play this game, and I cannot wait for the third iteration. So for me, as a PlayStation exclusive game, I'm gonna put Final Fantasy Rebirth S. I'm gonna put it. Oh, it's so hard to do this. I'm gonna put it in front of Final Fantasy 16. I hate myself so much. I hate it. All right, Kel, hit me with it. What's your opinion?
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is and nothing short but a masterpiece in my opinion. And this is coming from someone that isn't, kind of like in a different perspective, right? I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy VII fan. I didn't come in to the series like how Rob did, for example. So I came in with the remake, and it was great. I had good times with it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth expanded upon that, and it just did such a great job of just making you feel like this game is really expensive, right? Like you could tell everything they put into this game felt like they put a lot of time, effort, care, love. I mean, what do you can't bring this anything short but an S tier, right? Like this is an S tier game. As far as where I would put it in my S tier rank, it would probably, now again, this is mine, but I would probably put it behind God of War. Yeah, I think it would be behind God of War.
Okay, that's fair. Coming from a person that like didn't grow up hooked on Final Fantasy, that's a very fair assessment, and it is a amazing game. If you haven't played it, please play these games. They're incredible. Kelv, take us through the final game.
The final game here is Astro Bot, of course. Came out this September 6th. Developer Team Asobi with a Metacritic score of 94%. Now, Astro Bot obviously is sweeping. The buzz around Astro Bot is nothing short but, again, masterpiece. It is in the same conversation as Mario, right? So they did something right. This game gives you that nostalgic feel that you love, especially if you're a Sony fan. If you've grown up with Sony in the past, you can't help but smile when you're playing this game every single time, grin to grin, right? So this is one of those games where it'll be one of those classic games that you'll always go back to and just reminisce about all the great things that they've added, the amazing ways that they've incorporated previous Sony titles in this, and some of them that you don't even remember. You're like, I don't know who this is, but the way they've incorporated these things in this game is masterful. So this game is 100% an S tier in my book. As far as where it goes, I'm gonna probably put it it's top there. It's it right there. Yep.
You were saying Astro Bot is the ultimate PS5 game. It is.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That is some
PS5 game.
That is incredible. That is actually insane. I can't help but agree with you. This is an S game. This is an S game. I'm gonna put this behind Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just because I have to. That's just no. Realistically, it needs to go behind Ratchet and Clank. I think Ratchet and Clank for me is a quintessential like PS5 game. It just is.
So you think Ratchet and Clank is the best of the best when it comes to PS5 titles?
I think when I look at Ratchet and Clank, it was like, this is the reason why I got a PS5, right? When it first initially was announced, and I still hold that game. Like that game is amazing to play. I don't see everyone like being on top of the Astro Bot train, and I know people specifically, right? So like that's why and I know most people love Ratchet and Clank, right? It's just everyone likes that kind of game. So Astro Bot for me, I'm gonna put it right behind Ratchet and Clank. I know I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong, but
hey man, this is your tier list,
So guys, we have our tier list. We have Kelvin's tier list. We have my tier list. Let us know, which one do you agree with more? Do you agree with Kelvin? Do you agree with mine? Pretty similar, but there are little differences, you know? Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, please go to our YouTube channel and hit subscribe and like this video. Leave a comment too. What do you agree with more, me or Kelvin? We'll catch you guys in the next video.